Before we start, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Only 2% are subscribed. At 1,000 subscribers, I'll be posting a special video. I drove my shoulder into his front door and felt it jump. My name is Mark, nothing special. I am 36 and tired already. The wood rattled, and something inside my chest rattled with it. From the other side, I heard a small laugh, everything inside me locked. That laugh was my kid, and I knew it instantly. Another giggle followed from a second tiny voice that should not be there. I pictured them on his couch, and my stomach pulled hard in one direction. I grabbed the handle, and the door swung open too easy under my hand. No chain, no deadbolt, nothing between me and whatever he thought was happening. I did not knock again once. I pushed the door wide and stepped into his entryway. If he called the cops on me, I would deal with that later. Right then I had one job, it waited on the other side of that wall. Something in me already knew I was too late for something I could not name. I heard a chair scrape against his floor and then quiet again. You do not forget how your child sounds when they are playing with fake ease. Her laugh rose once more, then cut off like someone pressed mute. I called her first name louder than I meant, and my voice cracked halfway through. There was a shuffle, and then the neighbor answered instead, which hit me harder. Hey man, outside, the door is open. His voice sounded like some commercial, way too eager to stay friendly. I stepped into his hallway anyway because my gut was louder than manners. The girls are right here, we are just watching a movie. He pushed that line out fast, and every word slid over the next. I turned the corner, and there they were on his couch side by side. My daughter had her knees pulled up like she was trying to shrink herself. Her friend sat stiff with a game controller in both hands like a shield. He was at the far end of the couch with one arm draped along the backrest and a grin already forming. Writing this now, I still feel that grin before I remember his eyes. Hey kiddo, your dad came to join the party. He patted the cushion near his hip like he owned the whole room. She was already sliding toward me before I could speak, which saved us both. Grab your shoes and stand up right now. My voice came out flat and cold, and that chills me when I replay it. My daughter did not argue, she slid off the couch and looked at the floor. Her friend hesitated for a beat like she waited for permission from him instead of me. Easy there, Mark, we just wanted to hang out a little. He shifted forward on the couch with his hands up like I had walked in pointing a gun. You did not answer your doorbell, so I invited them to come over for a game and some snacks. You do not invite 8-year-olds into your house without asking their parents first. I stepped between him and the girls and felt my hands shake even though my voice stayed low. He smiled wider, and that made his cheeks look stretched and wrong. Relax man, it is not that serious, and they just walked by and I waved. I asked them if they wanted to see my new game, and they both lit up like it was Christmas. At the time those words almost worked on me, and that still makes me sick. He stacked his story fast and smooth, and every sentence gave me less room to argue. The rational part of my brain tried to count the ways this could be normal. The rest of me watched his hand drift closer to the spot where my daughter had been sitting 1 minute earlier. I knew I needed our kids out of that room before I could even think straight again. Shoes on now, we are going home. My daughter grabbed hers in one motion like she had been waiting for the order. Her friend took longer and kept glancing at him as if she expected him to stop us. He stayed on the couch, but his jaw tightened and his foot bounced against the carpet. You are overreacting, man. This is honestly kind of insulting right now. I herded the girls toward the hallway, and he finally stood up, which made my pulse jump again. Look, I get that the world is crazy, but I live next door and I was just being neighborly. He blocked half the path with his body without actually touching me, which somehow felt worse. Move aside or I call someone right now, and we can all explain it to them together. My daughter had her hand wrapped around my wrist so tight my skin ached, and that was my final answer. He shifted just enough for us to pass, and I felt his breath near my ear as we squeezed by. You are making a scene over nothing, and people talk, you know. Good, I hope they do, because that might keep some kid from trusting you next time. The words came out before I could think, and his face finally dropped. I walked my children out of his house while that dropped face burned into the back of my skull. Outside, my daughter clung to my side, and her friend stared at the grass like she had forgotten how to walk. The neighbor leaned on his doorway, watching us with that same empty grin back in place. I kept my eyes forward and counted our steps to the street. Because if I looked back, I was going to swing. Halfway down the path, my daughter's watch buzzed on her wrist, and a little preview flashed with his name on the screen. I did not read the message that day, but I never forgot that buzz against her skin. I dropped my keys on the counter harder than I meant. Both girls flinched and traded a quick look. My wife turned from the sink and froze when she saw our faces. "You three look like you walked away from a wreck." She knew something was wrong before I opened my mouth. "Shoes off, kitchen now." The words came out clipped and sharp. My daughter nodded fast and kicked off her sneakers. Her friend copied her a beat later and kept glancing toward the door. They shuffled to the table like kids sent to the principal. What happened at his place? I did not even try to soften it. My daughter stared at her hands and cleared her throat. "We just played a game and had snacks, that is all." Her friend repeated it almost perfectly, down to the same pause. That was the first thing that scraped at me. Kids mix up order, they forget details, they jump around. These two sat there like they had rehearsed in a hallway. "We were just bored and went over," he showed us the new game. Every line landed neat, and even in that scared me more. My wife pulled out a chair and sat beside them. She placed one hand on our kid's shoulder. "You know you can tell us anything, right?" Her voice stayed steady, but her fingers had a slight tremor. Both girls nodded without lifting their eyes. I leaned on the counter because my legs felt wrong. "Did he ever tell you not to mention this to us?" My daughter flicked a glance at me, then at her friend. "No, we just forgot, and then you came in and got mad." She forced a little laugh that died halfway out. Her friend tried to smile along and failed. "He is nice, he just wanted us to see the game." Her foot tapped against the chair leg, fast and nervous. We only stayed a little while, nothing weird happened at all. That last part landed too quickly, like she needed it finished. I should have stopped the conversation right there. Instead, I went for something almost petty. "You walked in without checking with us even once." My wife shot me a look, more annoyed than afraid in that second. The girls shrank down another inch like they were being scolded for grades. I caught myself and tried to shift direction. "I am not angry about you wanting to play. I am worried about going into an adult's place alone. There is a difference, and it matters for real safety." Even as I said it, I could hear how lecture-heavy it sounded. My daughter whispered that she understood. Her friend nodded so hard her hair bounced. "We will not go again without asking first, promise." The word promise hit me right in the chest. I had no idea how much weight that word was about to carry. My phone buzzed on the counter 3 times in a row. My wife glanced at the screen before I could grab it. "Your neighbor is blowing you up already." Her mouth pressed into a thin line as she slid the phone over. Seeing his name there felt worse than hearing his voice. First message: "Hey man, hope you're good after earlier." Second: "Kids had an awesome time, they were laughing the whole visit." Third: "If you want to come by later, we can all hang out." He added a little laughing face and a thumbs up. That tiny row of symbols pushed my temper higher than his words. My wife read them and let out a short dry sound. He is trying way too hard to smooth this over. I looked at the girls and they both stared hard at nothing. "Why did you not mention you went there twice?" The question jumped out before I could review it. My daughter blinked like I had spoken another language. "Twice? What do you mean twice?" Her friend's shoulders tensed at that single word. In that moment, I realized what I had just revealed. I only had a hunch from the timeline in my head. Still, the way they reacted told me enough to keep pushing. "You were gone longer than one visit for games and chips." I wanted to see who corrected me first. "We only went once today," both blurted it together. The overlap was almost perfect, like matching tracks. My wife's eyes bounced between them and me. She did not fully understand yet, but she felt the shift. I realized I was not the only one clocking these details. I drew a slow breath and backed off on purpose. Fighting them into a corner was not going to help. "All right, we will talk more later, go wash up." My daughter hopped down quick like a prisoner released. Her friend stayed a heartbeat longer and watched me carefully. She finally slid out of her chair and followed down the hall. As she passed, her sleeve brushed my arm. I felt her shaking and that small contact hurt. If nothing had gone wrong, why was she trembling? That question stayed with me long after they disappeared. My wife waited until their door closed. Then she turned on me with her hands on her hips. Are you sure you are not letting your fear run away here? She was not defending him, she was trying to keep the room stable. I know now that stability was already gone. I told her exactly what I had seen inside his place. The way our kid had moved toward me without speaking. How he had sat back like some relaxed host caught off guard. Her jaw tightened when I described his hand near the cushion. The more I talked, the more my own doubts started to crack. She rubbed her forehead and stared at the phone again. That string of cheerful messages sat there like a dare. Maybe he is just clueless and lonely, a lot of people are. Her voice wavered on lonely in a way she probably did not notice. I realized we were both trying to land on the least terrifying answer. I tapped out a reply anyway. We are home, the girls need some time with family right now. Thanks for watching them, next time please make sure we know first. My thumb hovered over send for a long second that felt heavy. In the end I hit send just so I could blame myself later. His answer arrived almost instantly. Of course, no problem at all, I totally understand. He tossed in another smiling face and a little wink. That last symbol made my skin crawl in a very specific way. I set the phone down like it might burn through the counter. The rest of the evening moved on the way evenings do. Dinner, dishes, school stuff, all the normal noise of a weekday. On the surface, everything looked routine and safe. Underneath, every time my daughter laughed, I heard the echo from his living room. Underneath, I kept replaying the identical lines those two kids had used. When it was finally quiet, my wife headed to bed first. She paused at the doorway and gave me a tired look. Please do not spiral over this all night, we will figure it out. I promised I would try, and we both knew that was not true. The second she disappeared down the hall, the quiet turned heavy. I sat alone in the dark living room with my phone. The neighbors' messages glowed in the last thread on the screen. Above them sat a new one from my daughter's kid watch. It showed a short line from earlier that afternoon. Can you come back later? I still want to show you something fun. Reading that tiny preview, my heart finally made up its mind. This was not just a weird visit and a tense misunderstanding. There was more under it, and I could feel it like a draft under a locked door. I knew exactly what I was going to dig into next. I just had no idea how deep it was about to go. I unlocked my phone and opened the camera app with shaky hands. The timeline bar was one long strip for the whole afternoon. I scrubbed backward to the hour when I first realized they were missing. The front path showed up empty for a few seconds, then two small figures eased into frame. My pulse jumped because I already knew those shapes. They walked past our driveway side by side without even glancing toward the house. No backpacks, no bikes, just that weird determined walk kids get on a mission. They never looked at the doorbell camera like they usually did when they played. They drifted straight toward his porch as if pulled there. I already hated where this recording was heading. I let the clip play and watched them climb his short steps. Both paused at his door and lingered like they were waiting for a cue. The door opened just a crack and his head leaned out. He looked up and down the street before opening wider. That tiny check of the street almost knocked the air out of me. He stepped aside and gestured them in with a little flourish. They slipped through the gap without even knocking. The door swung shut and cut them off from the camera. The timestamp in the corner burned itself into my brain. This visit had been almost an hour before the time they gave us. I zoomed the screen and dragged the bar forward. The path stayed empty for a long block of real time. 3 different delivery trucks rolled past, nobody else walked by. No kids came back out of his door for way too long. My stomach tightened as I waited for them to reappear. Finally, the door opened again with that same cautious crack. He stepped out first like he was scouting the world. He looked toward our house, then toward the side yard. Only after that did he wave them out with a quick little motion. They hopped down the steps and jogged away like nothing happened. They did not come toward our place in that clip. They cut across the grass and disappeared off to the left. The timeline skipped a few minutes with no motion. Only then did another clip start with them returning from the opposite side. Whatever they did in that gap existed only in their heads and his. I backed out of that day and checked the previous one. Honestly, I told myself I was overdoing it at that point. That is the part I hate writing the most right now. I was still hunting for some version of this where I was paranoid. Instead, I found another recording with a different date. Same path, same two kids, same pattern. They strolled past our driveway without slowing down even once. He opened the door faster this time like he already expected them. No street check, just a little beckoning motion with his fingers. They vanished inside as if this was now their routine. I swallowed hard and tapped the save icon. The system exported the first clip into my phone storage. I grabbed the second one too and dumped both into a folder. Naming it felt like labeling a crime scene inside my pocket. I already knew these files were not staying just with me. I thought about dialing right then and there. Call the non-emergency line, ask what to do, dump it all on them. Instead, I stuck the phone on the table and just stared at it. The part of me that wants to be reasonable started talking again. What if this is just bad optics and you ruin someone's life? I pushed that voice away and opened my messages instead. A new text from him sat under the earlier thread. Sorry again if I crossed a line today, I really enjoy having them over. He had added a little heart next to my daughter's name. That tiny shape made everything inside me go tight. I scrolled up to reread my last answer to him. We are home, please talk to us before inviting them anywhere. My words looked flat and weak against his cheerful replies. If someone showed me these messages without context, I might shrug. Knowing the footage I had just watched, there was no shrug left. I fired back a short response before I could overthink it. We need to set some clear boundaries about unplanned visits. I watched the dots appear almost immediately under that line. He was there on his phone, crafting whatever version of himself he wanted next. That awareness made my hands sweat in a way work never does. No problem at all, I completely respect your rules. I never meant to cause any stress, they are wonderful kids. We can talk more neighbor to neighbor soon, maybe this weekend. Another laugh emoji sat at the end like seasoning. He still thought this was about etiquette instead of danger. I left the message unread for a few minutes on purpose. Then I grabbed my jacket and stepped outside. I walked down the block to the house of another family we knew. Their dog started barking before I even reached their steps. I did not plan what I was going to say until the door opened. Hey, quick question about next door. My voice came out low enough that it felt like gossip. Have your kids ever gone over there alone? The other parent shifted, instantly more alert. Why did something happen? I lied before I told the truth, which still bothers me. I said he had offered to have our girls over sometimes. Just wondered if that was normal for around here. They scratched their neck and looked past me toward his place. Our kids do not go in there without us, he makes them uncomfortable. That sentence landed like a punch. They explained that he watched kids at the park sometimes. Always chatting, always a little too invested in kid games. Nothing you could point to, just a feeling that would not go away. That matched exactly what I had been trying not to name. I walked home slower than I had left. The recordings on my phone felt heavier with every step. Inside, the house looked quiet from the front hall. I could hear the low murmur of a cartoon down the corridor. For a second I imagined smashing his doorbell camera instead of mine. I went straight to the small tablet my daughter used. It sat on the side table where she always dropped it. I powered it on and opened her messages. Most were silly pictures from classmates and family. One chat sat at the top with a nickname that clearly was not a child. The contact name was a goofy version of his last name. Inside the thread were short lines back and forth. He had sent links to games and inside jokes about school. At first nothing jumped out beyond bad boundaries from an adult. Then I scrolled down to the part from earlier that afternoon. Do not forget, you can stop by later if your parents are busy. I will show you the rest of the game, the good part. Please keep it between us, surprises work best that way. My throat tightened so fast I could barely swallow. There it was in writing on her screen in my hand. I took screenshots of the whole conversation and sent them to myself. Then I locked the tablet again and listened to the cartoon noises. I felt like I was standing between two worlds in that hallway. One where this was all a huge chain of misunderstandings, and one where I was already too late and just did not know how late. Looking back, that night was the last time I could have pretended. After the videos and the messages and the neighbor's comment, there was no clean excuse left, no safe version of him in my head. I still stalled one more day before calling anyone with a badge. That delay is the part I keep arguing with myself about even now. I clicked my seat belt and waited for her to do the same. She climbed into the back instead of the front. That small choice hurt more than any argument. You can sit up here with me. She shook her head and stared out the window. We pulled away from the house without music. I could see her in the mirror, jaw tight. Am I grounded? Her voice barely reached the front. No, you are not, we just need to talk. I took the long route on purpose. More red lights, more chances for her to breathe. I am not mad at you. I said it slow so it landed. I am angry about what might have happened over there. She hunched lower, like the word angry had weight. I wished I had picked literally any other word. You did not do anything wrong by telling me the truth. Silence stretched between us, thick and stubborn. I could feel her choosing every breath. We pulled into the ice cream place and parked. She stayed buckled, eyes on the door. You said we were not in trouble. You are not, I swear it. I just really need you to help me understand. She followed me inside and ordered something she barely touched. We sat near the window, just the two of us. The room buzzed around us, none of it reaching our table. She dragged her spoon through the melted mess without eating. My heart pounded like I was the one about to confess. Did I scare you when I came in yesterday? Her shoulders jumped at the memory. You looked like you were going to yell at everyone. I deserved that. Yesterday was a lot. Today I just want to listen. She stole a quick look at my face. I forced my features to stay neutral. You saw us on his porch. She did not phrase it as a question. I nodded once and watched her throat move. I also saw messages on your tablet. Her eyes snapped to mine wide now. He told us you would be upset if you knew. Her fingers twisted the napkin into a tight rope. He said grown-ups always overreact. Hearing his words come out of her mouth made me dizzy. I leaned in so she could not miss my tone. He is the one in danger here, not you. You are safe with me, fully safe. Whatever you tell me, you will not be blamed. She pulled in a shaky breath and stared at the table. We only went over there to play at first. He kept saying he was bored and wanted company. At first it was normal, just games and jokes. Then he started doing weird things. My grip tightened around the edge of the table. I forced my hands to relax before she saw. What kind of weird? The word felt thin for what I feared. He closed his eyes and told us to practice trusting him. She frowned like she was replaying it in real time. He made us promise we would not tell secrets. He said grown-ups have private stuff too. He laughed a lot while he talked, but not funny. More like he was testing how far he could push. Did he lock the door when you were inside? Her spoon stopped moving completely. He turned the lock and put the key in his pocket. She lifted a hand and patted her jeans, mimicking him. He said it was just so nobody else would walk in. Every instinct in me screamed at that picture. I kept my voice level through clenched teeth. Could you open the door if you wanted to leave? She shook her head without looking up. He sat close to the door and told us to stay seated. I checked her face for any sign of shame. All I saw was confusion and anger. Why did you not run or call me? The second the words left my mouth, I regretted them. She flinched like I had slapped her. I am not asking that, right? Let me try again. I reached across and rested my hand near hers. I know this was not your fault, not even a little. I just want to know what it felt like in there, so I can protect you better now. She relaxed an inch and nodded. His phone buzzed and he looked at it, then at us. He asked if our parents checked our rooms at night. My stomach twisted, but I kept my face blank. He wanted to know what we wear when we sleep. The air around our table felt thinner after that. He asked if we ever sneak out of bed for fun. He asked if we tell each other secrets at sleepovers. He laughed and said he used to play those games too. Then he leaned closer like he was listening to a story. Did he touch you anywhere you did not want? The question came out rough and low. She screwed her eyes shut and nodded. He put his hand on my leg and left it there. He squeezed once and called me pretty grown up. I could not see straight for a second. My chest burned and I wanted to tear something apart. She watched my reaction like it was another test. I pulled in a breath and counted to 3 out loud. This is about him, not you, remember that. She pressed her lips together and kept going. He asked if we ever practiced kissing pillows. He said he could show us more mature stuff later. He told us he was the only one we should learn from. He made it sound like a prize for being special. I reached for my water and missed the glass the first time. My hands were not doing what I told them. Did he make you do anything else physical? Her forehead wrinkled as she thought. He tried to pull me closer, but the doorbell rang. That detail cut through everything. I knew exactly when the doorbell had rung. I asked which time was that. She opened her eyes and stared straight at me now. The time you did not answer right away. The room shifted under me. In my memory, I had been annoyed about the interruption. In her memory, that ring had been the only thing between before and after. He told us to stay quiet so you would go away. He held up his finger and put it over his mouth. I remembered standing in our living room hearing the bell. I had ignored it for a minute because I was tired. I hate admitting that here, but it is the truth. He grinned and said, "See, they do not always come when you call." That is what she remembered from my delay. I leaned back, the chair scraping the floor. The noise made her jump and look around the room. Sorry, that sound startled me too. I forced a smile I did not feel. You did the right thing coming home when you could. Her voice dropped even softer for the next part. He told us we would get in trouble if we told. He said people would think we wanted to be there. He said you would stop letting me see my friend. He said he would look sad and you would blame us. That was the hook that had kept her quiet. Not threats of violence, just twisted guilt and control. I hated how good he was at reading kids. None of this is on you, do you hear me? Her chin trembled like she was trying to hold itself together. Tears finally spilled and she wiped them with the back of her wrist. I scooted around the tiny table and sat beside her. She leaned into my side like she was 5 again. I wrapped an arm around her shoulders and felt every shudder. If I could have dragged that whole weekend into the trash, I would have. She whispered one last detail into my shirt. He told us next time we would do the grown-up level. The words made my whole body go cold. There was not going to be a next time, not for him, not with her. That was the exact second I stopped worrying about being polite. We threw away the untouched ice cream and walked to the car. She stayed close, almost on my heels. Once inside, she curled sideways in the seat and closed her eyes. Can I sleep until we get home? Yeah, you can, I got us. On the drive back, my mind ran in tight circles. Call my wife, call the police, call every parent on the block. Some part of me still wanted a more innocent version. Maybe she misunderstood, maybe I was reading grown-up intent into kid moments. Then I remembered his hand in his pocket with that key. By the time we reached our street, my choice was made. I parked in the driveway and let the engine cut off. She stayed asleep, or at least pretended to. I carried her inside, heavier in all the ways weight can be. My wife met us in the hall with questions in her eyes. We laid her on the couch and pulled a blanket up. Her breathing evened out, real sleep this time. I nodded toward the kitchen and my wife followed. I told her everything our daughter had just shared. Every sentence felt like dropping bricks between us and our old life. She grabbed the edge of the counter to steady herself. Her face went through disbelief, fury, then something harder. We have to involve someone official. Her voice shook, but her words did not. If we leave this alone and he hurts another kid, I will never forgive us. I nodded before my brain caught up with my body. I already saved the videos and the messages. We have enough for them to take this seriously. Even saying that out loud made my stomach twist. This was not a neighbor dispute, this was evidence. What about her friend? My wife asked that question I had been avoiding. We cannot only protect our own and ignore the other child. The thought of that second kid in his living room made me sick. We promised to loop her parents in once we had a plan. I looked back toward the living room. Our daughter shifted in her sleep and murmured something. We both froze and listened until she settled again. We need to make this call while she is resting. I did not want her to hear my side of that conversation. I pulled out my phone and searched for the non-emergency number. My thumb hovered over the dial button for a beat. This is the line where people report noise and weird cars. I was about to report a man who lived 15 steps away. I pressed call before I could talk myself out of it again. The operator answered with a calm, practiced tone. I told them I needed to report inappropriate contact with children. The words tasted wrong even as I spoke them. They asked if the kids were safe right now. Yes, they are home with us, he is alone next door. They walked me through basic questions, simple and direct. How old is your child? How do you know this neighbor? I found myself gripping the phone so tight my hand hurt. Do you have any recordings, messages, anything documented? Yes, I do, more than I want to have. They asked for our address and my full name. They told me not to confront him again on my own. That line hit me in a very specific place. I had already kicked his door in once without backup. Next time they wanted officers there first. We can have detectives contact you within the day. In the meantime, do not let the children go near his property. Hearing someone else give that instruction made it feel real. They asked if we felt in immediate danger tonight. I said no, but I am not sure that was the honest answer. They gave me a case number and an email address. I forwarded the camera clips and screenshots while still on the line. My hands shook so much I almost sent them to the wrong place. The operator confirmed they had received the files. We ended the call with a promise that someone would follow up soon. When I hung up, the house felt strange. Same walls, same furniture, completely different weight. My wife stared at me, waiting for something reassuring. All I could manage was, it has started now. There was no taking any of it back. I walked into the living room and sat near the couch. Our daughter rolled toward me in her sleep and found my hand. She clung to my fingers without waking. I knew the hard part for her was nowhere near over. But at least finally, the worst of it was not hiding in silence anymore. The knock hits the door like somebody owes money. I jerk up from the chair before the second hit lands. My wife meets my eyes from the hallway, already braced. I do not even check the peephole. I just open the door and let them in. 2 plainclothes officers stand there with badges out. A third person waits behind them, a woman with a soft voice. Good morning, we spoke last night about your call. Hearing that makes everything snap into focus. This is not just my private nightmare anymore. They step inside and scan the space in one quick sweep. The woman offers a small nod toward the living room. Is your daughter here right now? She is asleep in her room, I answer. I already hate that we are starting the day like this. They introduce themselves by first names that I instantly forget. My brain latches onto ranks instead, detective specialist. We move to the kitchen table like it is an interview room. One of them opens a worn notebook and clicks a pen. I realize my hands are still shaking from the phone call. All right, walk us through exactly what happened yesterday. The younger detective leans forward, elbows on the table. I start at the moment I kicked open that front door. I describe positions, gestures, the way the girls moved. I leave out nothing that might help, even if it hurts. They do not interrupt much, just the practical stuff. Time, distance, sequence where everyone sat. Every so often one of them underlines something in the notes. That scrape of pen on paper makes my skin prickle. It feels like my words are being nailed down forever. I slide my phone across the table when we get there. The older detective scrolls through the camera clips. His jaw tightens but his voice stays level. These are from your door system, correct? I confirm and watch him replay the same 10 seconds 3 times. He pauses on the moment that man checks the street. That part bothers me the most, he mutters. He taps the screen where my kid walks through the doorway. Then he looks up at me, eyes harder now. You were right to call, there is enough concern here. The specialist opens a small folder with printed forms. She explains in clear, careful language what they need from us. Talks with our daughter, then with her friend, separate sessions. She mentions recorded interviews, trained staff, trauma-informed practice. My wife signs first, hand steady even though the page trembles. I add my name underneath hers. The ink looks too dark on the white paper. The specialist closes the folder with a quiet click. I would like to meet your daughter in a calm room. Somewhere she feels like she can pause and breathe. We lead her down the hall to our kid's door. I knock softly and push it open a crack. She squints at us from the bed, half awake. You remember how you trusted me yesterday, right? She nods slowly, eyes sliding toward the stranger behind us. This is someone whose job is listening to kids. I crouch beside the bed so we are level. She is here to make sure you are safe. You can tell her the same things you told me. You can also tell her anything you did not want to say out loud before. The specialist kneels too, keeping some distance. Hi, I heard you really like drawing and stories. How about you come talk to me for a little while? We will sit together and see what pictures you want to make. My daughter studies her face like she is checking for secret traps. Will you be there too? That question hits me in the chest. I will be in the next room if you need me. I point toward the living room, just a few steps away. I am not going anywhere without you knowing. She swings her feet off the bed and stands. Her shoulders fold inward, but her chin stays lifted. She follows the woman down the hall toward the spare room. The door closes with a gentle click that sounds too final. I am left staring at the wood like it could turn transparent. I walk back to the kitchen because sitting still feels impossible. The detectives already have their laptops open on the table. One of them has my email on the screen. Your clips and screenshots came through, he confirms. We will get our tech unit to mirror everything onto our system. He asks if we have spoken to the other child's parents yet. Not in detail, we wanted to talk to you first. He nods and makes a quick note for later. We will need them here today if possible. The sooner we can talk to both girls, the better. I grab my phone and open the contact list. My thumb hesitates over the other mom's name. This call feels almost as bad as the one to dispatch. I step onto the back porch for air and dial. She answers on the second ring with a bright hello that dies fast. Something is going on with the guy next door. My voice comes out rough, no time for warm-up. I need you to bring your daughter over right now. She asks if someone is hurt, tension spiking immediately. I tell her agents are here, and we need to talk in person. There is a pause where I hear nothing at all. Then she says they are on their way and hangs up. I slip the phone back into my pocket and re-enter the house. The detectives look up at me and sync. They know exactly what that phone call was. They place an extra form on the table for the other family. This one is for them to authorize contact with their child. I suddenly see how many layers of paper it takes to protect kids. None of it makes me feel less furious about needing it. Still, I am grateful it exists at all. Through the wall I catch faint voices from the spare room. One adult tone, one small one, the low hum of questions. No crying yet, no raised volume, just steady talking. I imagine her feet swinging under the chair while she answers. Then I picture that man's hand on her leg and feel sick again. The bell rings before I can spiral too far. This time I do check the peephole from habit. Our daughter's friend stands on the porch clinging to her mother's arm. Their expressions say they already know this is bad. I open the door wide and step aside. They step in and clock the badges in one sweep. The other mom's face drains of color, then hardens. What did he do? Her voice slices through the hallway. She pulls her child behind her like a shield and a promise. The detective closest to the door introduces himself quickly. He explains they are investigating harmful contact toward minors. He does not sugarcoat the words, which I appreciate. We believe your kid may have information we need today. You can stay on the property while we speak with her. The girl presses her face into her mother's side. I watch her fingers clutch fabric, knuckles pale. Our daughter's specialist joins us and crouches down. Hi, you remember me from camp last year, right? The kid nods, surprised, a tiny spark of familiarity. That detail knocks me sideways. She already knows this woman from somewhere safe. The specialist uses that without making a big show of it. Can you come talk with me like we did back then? We will sit together and you can tell me how your week has been. The other mother looks at me over her kid's head. Her eyes demand answers I cannot give yet. We will talk the minute they finish, I promise. Right now they want the girl's memories fresh. She swallows hard and releases her hold slowly. Both kids vanish into that room, one after the other. The door closes again and the house feels hollow. The mothers end up at the table, hands flat on the surface. The detectives take positions across from us like a panel. No one knows who should speak first. I break the silence because I am the one who called. I tell the other mom that I walked in on them yesterday. I mention the locked door and the questions he asked. Not the worst details, not yet, just enough to set the frame. Her jaw clenches so hard I hear her teeth click. She whispers that her daughter complained about his comments before. That he was always too interested in their games. That she had brushed it off as awkward friendliness. We both stare at nothing for a second, stuck in the same regret. The detectives watch our faces like they have seen this many times. They ask for specific examples, phrases, past visits. The other mom describes an afternoon at the park last month. He kept offering to push the kids on swings, even the older ones. He talked about how fast they were growing with a weird tone. She remembers telling her girl to stay CL. Closer to the benches. I add the neighbor down the street who warned me. The one who mentioned being uneasy about his attention toward kids. The detectives trade a glance at that detail. We can canvass the block later for more input. Right now, the focus is on what happened inside his place. Time drags and folds while we wait for the interviews. I watch the clock, then my phone, then my own breathing. Every muffled laugh or cough from the closed room makes me twitch. I am terrified she will say more than she told me. I am even more terrified she will say less. Eventually, the specialist emerges with both children. Their faces look drained but not shattered. She guides them toward the living room with gentle hands. You both did an incredible job telling your stories. You can watch a show while we talk with your parents. Our daughter glances at me on her way past. I give a tiny thumbs up like we practiced years ago. She returns half of one before heading toward the couch. The other girl sticks even closer to her mom. The detectives wait until both kids are settled out of earshot. The specialist takes a seat at the table, eyes serious now. Both children described similar patterns in his behavior. She lays it out in clear segments, no drama, just facts. Questions about bodies and secrets, controlling when they left, unwanted touch. She mentions one phrase he used with both of them that matches. He called them his special helpers. That line makes my stomach flip. Our daughter had left that out with me. Her friend remembered it immediately, almost word for word. The fact they match gives the detectives something solid. We cannot discuss every detail with you yet. The specialist explains that to protect the case. We can tell you there is enough for us to move forward. The younger detective closes his laptop with a firm snap. We are going to contact the on-duty judge and get a warrant. My wife reaches for my hand under the table. Her fingers wrap around mine like she is anchoring us. The other mom asks the question that has been circling in my head. Are you going to arrest him today? The older detective answers without pause. If we get what we expect from the judge, yes. We will pick him up before the end of the day. We also need to secure any electronics in his place. We will have a digital crimes unit assist with that. He has probably been at this longer than just this week. Hearing that last line makes me nauseous. I imagine other kids, other families, other kitchen tables. The detective stands and clips his badge to his belt. We will stage down the block so he does not spot you watching. Stay inside, keep the kids away from the windows. Hours stretch in a strange half-light of waiting. The officers leave to prepare whatever they do out there. Our house becomes a holding pattern for fear and routine. We feed the kids lunch, pretending this is a normal day off. I have never been worse at pretending in my entire life. At one point, my daughter pulls me aside. Is he going to be mad at us? Her voice trembles just enough to crack me open. He might be upset, but that is not your burden. Grown-ups are responsible for their own actions, not kids. Will he come here? She glances toward the front door like it might swing open. Officers are nearby, he is not coming in. I answer with more confidence than I actually feel. She studies my face, then seems to accept it for now. Mid-afternoon, an unmarked vehicle rolls past the window. I notice it only because it slows near his driveway. Another car follows, then a cruiser without lights. They pull over a few houses down out of direct view. The show our kids are watching covers some of the outside noise. A soft knock sounds on our back door this time. An officer in uniform stands there with a vest and radio. We are about to make contact with him. Her tone leaves no room for argument. Stay inside. If anything escalates, move the kids to an interior room. I nod and thank her, which feels ridiculous. Thank you for removing the predator from across my yard. The words stick in my throat, so I keep them inside. She jogs back toward the street, hand on her belt. I close the door and lock it out of habit. My wife and the other mom gather in the hall near the stairs. We keep voices low, ears straining for any sound. I want to peek through the curtain so badly. I settle for standing near the window without touching it. Every part of my body is coiled, waiting for impact. We hear muffled shouting from outside, words indistinct. Then a command voice, loud and firm, followed by silence. My heart slams against my ribs in time with distant footsteps. The kids look up from the screen, curious. My wife grabs the remote and increases the volume a little. After a few minutes, an engine starts. Through the thin gap at the side of the curtain, I glimpse movement. Two officers guide him toward a waiting car, hands behind his back. He looks smaller than I remember, but somehow more dangerous. He turns his head toward our house in one quick jerk. I step back on instinct, even though he cannot see me. The other mom covers her mouth with her hand. No one speaks until the car pulls away down the block. Another vehicle remains in front of his place. Digital Crimes Unit, I guess, doing their quiet work. The rest of the afternoon moves in a strange underwater way. Officers come and go from the house next door. They carry out devices, boxes, labeled bags. Every time the door opens over there, I feel a fresh rush of rage. I keep thinking of that locked knob and my kid on his couch. Later, as dusk creeps in, the detectives return to our door. They look more tired now, more focused. We sit at the table again, the four of us. Kids stay in the living room within sight but out of earshot. I can tell this part will not be easy to hear. We executed the warrant without incident. He is in custody at the station for now. They do not celebrate that news, it is just another step. We seized multiple devices, including an external drive. Based on what we saw so far, there may be additional victims. That last sentence knocks the air out of the room. The other mom grips the edge of her chair so hard it squeaks. My wife closes her eyes and breathes like she is in a class. Do you already know who they are? The younger detective shakes his head once. We have leads, but we cannot discuss names yet. He adjusts his pen, not meeting our eyes. Your daughters did something very brave today. What they told us will probably prevent more harm. That does not erase what happened, but it matters. He explains the next steps in short, clear bursts. Forensic review, interviews at the station, coordination with child services. He warns us that legal proceedings move slowly and unevenly. There might be hearings, deals, delays, things that feel like setbacks. He tells us to focus on our kids, not every court date headline. We ask the question we have both been avoiding. Is he going to be out on bail? The older detective sighs and rubs his eyebrow. Possibly, depending on the judge and the charges they file. If that happens, there will be strict limits on where he can go. Will he be allowed to come back on this street? The other mother barely gets the words out. The detectives trade another look before answering. If he is released, we will ask for conditions that protect you. We will not leave you in the dark about his status. They hand us each a card with direct numbers. Call if he contacts you in any way they instruct. Screenshots, recordings, everything, do not delete anything. Your documentation could be crucial later on. It feels grim and strangely comforting to have that plan. After they leave, the three of us just sit there. No one reaches for their phone or a drink. The house is finally quiet except for cartoon credits. We are all hearing our own version of the last few days. Mine keeps circling the moment I almost ignored the doorbell. My daughter appears in the kitchen doorway. Is he gone? Her question is as blunt as a hammer. He is at the station right now, answering to big people. She studies me for signs of hedging and finds none. Is he going to jail forever? I stare at her and wish I could say yes. I do not know how long, but other grown-ups are on it. They know what happened and they are not ignoring it. She swings her foot against the cabinet thinking. She asks one more thing before she walks away. Did I get him in trouble by telling? That line slices straight through whatever I have left. He got himself in trouble by doing bad things. You helped us stop him, that is very different. She nods slowly like she is trying that belief on. Then she heads back to the couch where her friend waits. They sit shoulder to shoulder, closer than usual. On the screen, a show plays with bright music and jokes. In front of it, two kids lean into each other like survivors. I snap awake to a scream that does not sound human. My feet hit the floor before my brain catches up. By the time I reach her doorway, she is sitting up shaking. Her eyes are open, but she is not really in the room. She is back on that couch with him. I sit on the edge of the bed and keep a little distance. If I grab her too fast, she startles harder. Hey, I am here, you're at home. She grips her own arms like she is holding herself together. Did he get out? That question has become our nightly ritual. No, he is still locked up. I answer it the same way every time. Sometimes I explain the whole legal thing again. Tonight I just repeat it until her breathing slows. She slides closer inch by inch until her shoulder touches my side. Can you stay until I fall asleep? I want to say I will stay until the trial and beyond. Instead, I pull her blanket up and lean against the wall. Yeah, I am not going anywhere. She drifts off in fits and starts jerk. Awake twice. Each time she checks my face like a lighthouse. The third time her hand relaxes and stays loose. I wait a few minutes, listening to that deep, even rhythm. Then I tiptoe out and close the door almost all the way. In the hallway, my wife is waiting, arms folded tight. Same dream. I nod and lean into the opposite wall. We cannot keep doing this alone. She says it like a verdict, not a suggestion. The next week we sit in a small clinic lobby. Our daughter taps her sneakers together and pretends not to stare. A woman with a big tote calls her name with a smile. You can bring your drawing if you want. Our kid stands and hesitates, waiting for my signal. I give her a small nod and lift my hand. Our old little sign that means I am with you. She copies it and follows the therapist down the hall. The door swings shut and locks with a soft click. I sink into the chair like someone let the air out of me. Out in the parking lot afterward, she acts wired and wiped. She shows us a simple sketch of two stick figures holding hands. This is me and my friend at the park, she explains. Nothing in the picture shows the man who ruined that park. The absence is louder than any monster drawing. In the car, my wife stares through the windshield. We should have done this sooner. Her voice has that cracked, tired edge. I know she means both therapy and the call to the cops. I do not argue because she is not wrong. Weeks fall into a strange new pattern after that. School, therapy, case updates, bedtime fears repeat. She starts sleeping with the door open a little wider. She wants hallway noise as proof that adults are close. I pretend it does not wreck me every time I walk past. One afternoon, my phone buzzes during a staff meeting. Unknown number, city code, short voicemail. I step into the stairwell and call back with sweaty hands. This is the prosecutor on your case. My heart stutters at the phrase your case. They walk me through the charges in simple language. Multiple counts, digital evidence, contact offenses, grooming. They mention the words plea offer and trial calendar. My head spins trying to keep those terms straight. Then they tell me the date of the first hearing. Do we have to bring her? The question comes out before I plan it. The prosecutor says no, in fact they prefer she stays away. If she testifies later, they want her fresh. That word fresh makes me want to punch a wall. I sit at the kitchen table that night with a legal pad. My wife and I list out what needs to happen next. Who will watch the kids, who will drive downtown. What questions we want to ask the prosecutor in person. What we will do if he looks over at us. Our daughter comes in halfway through and sees the pad. Is that about him? We both freeze, caught mid-sentence. Yeah, it is. We are going to court soon. She pulls out a chair and drags it closer. Are they going to show the videos? She bites her lip, waiting for the answer. Maybe, but probably not while we are in the room. They might use them when the judge decides on sentencing. Her shoulders relax just a little at the idea of being spared that. Can you tell the judge I did not want any of it? It hits me how deep that worry still runs. We will tell everyone involved that you said no. I reach across and rest my hand near hers. More important, they already know kids cannot consent to this. On hearing day, the courthouse feels like a different planet. Security, lines, officers, voices echoing down long corridors. I keep my head down and try to copy the calm faces. Our names are on a list at the prosecutor's office. We sign in like parents at a school program. The prosecutor briefs us in a small side room. He will probably plead not guilty at first, they explain. It is a position thing, not a declaration of truth. Hearing that makes my blood rise anyway. Then they mention the part I have been dreading. He will be in the same courtroom as us. They say it plainly because pretending otherwise is pointless. You do not have to look at him if you do not want. Just know we will be between you and him. I nod like that helps, even though it barely touches the fear. When we walk into the courtroom, my chest tightens. He is already seated at the defense table. No neighbors, no kids, no friendly grin now. He glances back only once and his eyes skim past us. I do not know if that helps or makes me hate him more. The judge rattles through the case number and charges. Hearing my daughter described as victim 1 nearly wrecks me. It feels like someone carved her into a file. His attorney stands and enters the expected plea. Not guilty, clear and steady, like he is reading a menu. There is talk about evidence and motion schedules. Legal terms wash over me in dull waves. My brain latches onto stray phrases like grooming pattern. I feel my wife's hand clamp onto my arm when that lands. The judge sets another date and bangs the gavel once. As we leave, the prosecutor walks with us to the hallway. This part is mostly formalities, they reassure us. The bigger choices come later, after the digital review. They mention the possibility of a plea if he folds. They also warn us about the emotional mess of a trial. On the drive home, everything over there looks smaller. His porch, his mailbox, his darkened windows. For a long time I watched that house like it had teeth. Now it just looks empty and pathetic. My anger shifted from fear into something colder that day. Therapy days multiply as the months creep by. Our daughter starts drawing more complex pictures. Sometimes she leaves them on the coffee table. Little scenes where a tall figure stands far away. Tiny figures closer together, backs turned to him. She also starts doing this puppet game with the therapist. We watch through the half-open door one afternoon while they wrap up. 2 animal puppets stand by a cardboard house. A third puppet tries to get them to come inside. Our kid voices the animals saying no and walking away. I nearly lose it in the hallway watching that. My wife squeezes my arm hard enough to hurt. This is good, she whispers, this is her rewriting it. She finally gets to say no with power. I nod even though my eyes blur. One evening, months in, we get a long email. The prosecutor sends an update on the digital evidence. They found other kids in his files, faces we do not know. There are older reports from another district too. Our case is part of a pattern, not a one-time situation. That knowledge is a twisted relief. I hate that there are more children hurt. I also hate that he almost walked away clean in each place. Maybe this string is finally long enough to hold him. Maybe our kids closed a door he kept slipping through. A week later, the prosecutor calls again around dinner time. He wants to talk in person before the next hearing. We sit across from him in a small conference room. He gets straight to the point, which I respect. There is a plea offer on the table. He is willing to admit to certain counts. In exchange, he gets a fixed range instead of open sentencing. It is a long stretch, enough to cover our kid's entire childhood. He would register for life and never live near schools again. If we reject it, we go to trial and roll the dice. I look at my wife and see my own conflict mirrored. Part of me wants him locked away until he dies. Part of me cannot imagine dragging our kid through testimony. She would have to walk past him, point him out, relive it. My protective side screams louder than my revenge side. We go home and talk it through at the table. We leave the legal sheet face down between us. If we take the deal, he admits he hurt them. If we refuse, he can stand up there calling them liars. My wife crumples a napkin until it tears in two. That night we sit on the porch steps after bedtime. The neighborhood is quiet in that uneasy way. Some folks nod at us more now, some avoid eye contact. Everyone knows what happened without knowing the details. Our block will never go back to the version we moved into. She asks a simple question that cuts straight through everything. What would you tell another parent in our place? The answer comes out before I can polish it. Take the deal that keeps the kids off the witness stand. She nods once like she needed my gut, not my logic. We tell the prosecutor our decision the next day. He listens, then thanks us for considering the bigger picture. I feel weird getting thanked for anything in this mess. He reminds us our kids have already done enough. The rest is on the adults now. On plea day, we return to that same courtroom. This time the energy feels heavier, more final. He stands to answer a list of questions from the judge. Each yes carries a description of what he did. Some lines are general, some are very specific. I stare at the table whenever my daughter's age is mentioned. My wife grips my knee under the wood. The judge asks if he understands he will be registering. He answers yes, voice flat, like he is agreeing to traffic school. I want to yell, but I stay rooted in the bench. When it is over, the judge turns to the gallery. He invites victim impact statements at sentencing. You do not have to speak, he reminds us. You can submit letters if that feels safer. The choice hangs between us on the drive home. We end up writing our statements at the kitchen table. My wife's pages are tight and precise. Mine is a mess of cross-outs and rewrites. I talk about how our kid jumps at random sounds now. How she watches every adult like they might be hiding something. I delete the parts where I fantasize about hurting him. No judge needs to read that confession. Instead, I focus on what he stole from our whole block. The trust between houses, the easy play in front yards. The belief that monsters live somewhere far away. Sentencing day arrives faster than I expected. We drop our daughter with a friend she trusts. She knows there is a court thing but not the details. At the courthouse we clutch our papers like shields. I feel like I am walking into a very calm storm. The judge invites me to the podium first. My legs shake all the way up the steps. I unfold my statement and grip it with both hands. My voice sounds strange through the microphone. I speak anyway because silence already did enough damage. I tell the judge about the night I almost ignored the doorbell. How I shrugged off little warnings because they felt awkward. How my kid now checks every door we walk through. How her friend refuses to walk past that house even empty. How my wife and I whisper apologies to the ceiling after bedtime. My throat tightens halfway through, but I keep pushing. I focus on the edges of the paper instead of his head. I finish with one simple request. Give him enough time that my daughter can grow up without seeing him outside a courtroom. Then I step back before I break apart in front of everyone. My wife speaks next and somehow stays steadier. She talks about our daughter's nightmares and panic at sleepovers. She mentions the therapy visits, the puppet game, the drawings. She explains that we are not asking for revenge. We are asking for space to heal without watching him drive by. When we sit down, the room feels colder. His attorney does the usual thing about his background. I tune most of it out because I know who he is now. The judge reads through the charges and the plea again. Then he delivers the numbers in a calm, neutral tone. It is a long stretch, the kind you measure in school years. There will be supervision after, strict conditions, constant checks. He will be on lists we can look up whenever we want. The judge talks about trust and responsibility toward children. For once those words land with real weight. Walking out of that building feels surreal. We step through the doors into regular daylight. Cars roll past, people check their phones, life just goes. My wife leans against a pillar and lets out a long breath. Is it weird that I do not feel happy? I get it, I say, I feel empty and relieved together. The man is off our street, but he is not erased. He lives in our kids' nervous laugh now. He lives in the way I scan every room we enter. Justice does not remove him, it just cages him somewhere else. Weeks later, small changes start showing up around our house. Our daughter asks if she can ride her bike again. She wants to go past the corner but not alone. We walk beside her the first time, close enough to grab the handlebars. She pedals faster whenever we move near the old driveway. One weekend she comes back from therapy with a new drawing. This one has 3 figures, all roughly the same height. They are standing in front of a house with a big X on it. A 4th shape is scribbled small in the corner. She shrugs and says that one is far away now. In the car after, my wife stares at that paper. We are both about to cry and we know it. Instead, we start apologizing again to steering wheel. Sorry we did not see it sooner. Sorry you had to be brave before 3rd grade. We say it out loud because it keeps bubbling up. We say it knowing it will never feel like enough. Our daughter rolls her eyes from the back seat. You guys already fixed it, can we get burgers? The casual way she says fixed it almost knocks me over. That night, after everyone is sleeping, I open my laptop. The house is quiet except for the steady hum of appliances. I log into a throwaway account on a site full of strangers. My cursor blinks in an empty text box for a long time. Then I start typing the first line of this story. I do not use real names or exact locations. I do not mention the case number or dates. I only write about a man who lured 2 kids next door. And a father who almost waited one more day to act. I write it in one long rush, then go back and fill gaps. I leave in the parts where I screwed up. The delay at the door, the doubt, the need to be polite. I do not make myself the hero who saved the day. I am the guy who finally did the bare minimum. I want other parents to see themselves in that mess. I end the post the way I have to. If you ever feel that sick pull in your gut, listen to it. If a grown-up seems a little too invested in your kid, interrupt it. If you hear your child's voice where it should not be, move. Kick the wrong door, ask the uncomfortable questions, be the rude neighbor. Then I hit post and sit there with my hands in my lap. No fireworks, no choir, just one more story in a busy feed. Upstairs, my daughter shifts in her sleep and lets out a little sigh. She settles again without calling my name this time. For now, that tiny quiet sound is enough to keep me going.